The story begins with four friends embarking on a short trip to a lakeside cabin for a weekend getaway. At the start of the movie, Jenna and her fiancé are driving in their car at night. The couple, soon to be married, are very affectionate with each other, but this love story has a tragic end. While returning home, they suffer a fatal car accident that severely injures Jenna and claims the life of her partner. 3 years after that incident, Renee, Jenna's friend, takes her on a trip. They are joined by Renee's boyfriend, Michael, and his good friend, Ian. In reality, Renee planned this trip to set Jenna up with Ian. Jenna hasn't dated anyone since her fiancé's death, and Renee wants her to move on and start a relationship. When the two guys are alone, Ian confesses that he finds Jenna very attractive. The four of them board a boat to reach the lakeside cabin where they'll be staying. Upon arrival, we see a man waiting for them. That man is Wade, Ian's uncle. Ian explains that the cabin actually belongs to his uncle. Wade warmly welcomes them and prepares a drink, which Jenna politely declines. While everyone enjoys their drink, Jenna enters the cabin. She goes to the bathroom and pulls out a bottle of pills. She's been taking antidepressants since the tragic accident 3 years ago. That night, the four friends have dinner with Uncle Wade while getting to know each other better. Wade informs them that he's secured invitations for a nearby private party. Then he leaves the cabin saying he has to work on something. The four friends discuss that they have some time before heading to the party. They decide to relax in the sauna. The guys go first to turn it on, leaving the two girls alone. Renee tells Jenna she doesn't have to join if she feels uncomfortable, but Jenna insists she's fine. She goes to get ready, and we see she still wears her engagement ring on a necklace. In an effort to move forward, she takes off the necklace and stores it in a drawer with her pills. Renee, Michael, and Ian are already in the sauna, and Michael starts getting excited seeing his girlfriend in a bikini. A little later, Jenna comes down with 2 bottles of water. She's still unsure about joining, but just as she's about to turn back, Ian opens the door and asks her to come in. Finally, Jenna enters the sauna and joins her friends. Renee takes a water bottle and starts drinking, while the guys are happy with their beers. Ian mentions that the sauna was designed by Wade. To demonstrate its design, Ian pours water over the hot rocks, releasing a burst of hot steam. After a while, the heat in the room starts to intensify, soon becoming unbearable for everyone. Ian suggests they step out and jump into the lake to cool off before returning. Everyone agrees and leaves the sauna. They jump into the lake, balancing their body temperature with the cold water. Everyone is enjoying the experience. A few minutes later, they return, and the girls enter the sauna while Ian and Michael share a drink in the kitchen. Renee asks Jenna if she's having fun, and Jenna says she is. Ian also admits to Michael that he likes Jenna before heading back in. Meanwhile, Michael starts drinking heavily, to the point of barely having control over his body. A little later, they go back out to the lake to cool off. When they return, Michael wants his girlfriend to go with him to their room. Drunk, Michael wants to sleep with her, but Renee isn't in the mood. She tells Michael no and angrily shuts the sauna door. Michael gets furious after his girlfriend's rejection. Renee starts complaining about Michael to her friends, and suddenly they hear a noise of Michael falling to the floor. Renee thinks Michael is just trying to get her attention. Ian doesn't want his friends to fight, so he gets up to bring Michael back. But Renee stops him and tells him to leave Michael alone. Ian closes the door, and Renee starts getting frustrated. Since Ian has already ruined her mood, she wants to go to her room. She gets up and tries to open the door, but it won't budge. Ian then tries to open the door. He tries with all his strength, but the door doesn't move an inch. Seeing this, Jenna starts to panic. Renee calls out to Michael, thinking he locked them in. Ian also calls for Michael to let them out, but they get no response. Ian says that if Michael is joking, he'll eventually let them out. But Jenna starts having anxiety attacks because she didn't take her pills before entering the sauna. Renee worries that Michael might be so drunk he could forget they're inside. Jenna hopes Wade will return and open the door. But Ian says that when Wade comes back, he'll just assume they went to the party and won't bother checking the sauna. Ian and Renee inspect the door and find something blocking it, preventing it from opening. Renee starts to worry that they could lose their lives if no one opens the door. The heat controller is also outside the sauna, so they can't lower the temperature from inside. They can't stay inside waiting for someone to open the door, so Renee tries to break the glass window, but it's too strong to even crack. Ian then takes a towel and tries to grab a rock from the sauna heater. Since it's extremely hot, Ian uses a wooden tool to retrieve the rock. He manages to pull out a rock, but it's still too hot to hold. They take the water bottles and each take a few sips. Ian pours the remaining water into a bucket and places the rock in it to cool down. Once the rock is cool enough, Ian grabs it and starts hitting the glass window on the door. Ian uses all his strength, but the rock only scratches the window. He even cuts his hands, but the window doesn't break. Despite everything, Ian doesn't stop and finally manages to break the glass window, letting in some outside air. They shout for help, but no one hears their cries. They see a small ladder blocking the door from opening. Ian ties the rock to the towels and tries to move the ladder by swinging the rock toward it, but the rock is too small to budge it. Renee wants to break the thermostat, which controls the temperature based on settings adjusted from outside. She thinks breaking it will lower the temperature, but Ian warns that it could also make the temperature rise to its maximum of 247 degrees Fahrenheit, the point at which human skin begins to melt. Jenna sides with Ian and tells Renee not to touch the device. In response, Renee verbally attacks Jenna, and the two start arguing. The atmosphere inside the sauna has changed drastically since they got locked in. Then Ian comes up with a plan. His plan is to stop the heater by cutting its power. Ian tries to trip the fuse by tampering with the light bulbs, but instead of tripping the fuse, he turns off the lights while the heater keeps running. He also gets a strong electric shock and passes out. Ian regains consciousness later, but is too weak to move. With the lights off and the heater still running, their situation worsens significantly. Suddenly, they hear Wade's dog barking. They call the dog by its name, and the dog finds their location. But the dog can't open the door. It has to bring someone to open the door. Will they be saved? Will they survive? Where is Michael in all this? And most importantly, who trapped them inside the sauna? Let's find out. The dog's barking draws Michael's attention. He doesn't seem drunk anymore and looks like he came from somewhere. Renee calls out to Michael, but just then Wade, who returned a few minutes earlier, is handling fireworks for the festival with another guy. The loud noise of the fireworks drowns out Renee's cries for help. A little later, Michael and Wade meet at the back of the house. Upon seeing each other, they completely ignore the dog's barking. Wade asks why Michael was alone, and Michael explains his story. After getting drunk, he fell asleep on the couch. When he woke up, he found himself alone in the cabin. He thought his friends had left him behind and gone to the party without him. He went to the party, but wasn't allowed in because he didn't have an invitation. With no other options, he returned to the cabin and found Wade and his dog. In the sauna, the situation worsens as the group runs out of drinking water and Renee falls ill from the high temperature. Renee finally decides to break the controller, thinking it will lower the temperature. But Jenna worries it will only make things worse, so she tries to stop her. Renee starts yelling at her, and Jenna unintentionally hits Renee on the head with a rock, knocking her unconscious. Jenna panics, fearing she's killed her friend. Ian checks on Renee and says she's only unconscious, but Jenna is too scared and starts trembling nervously. In desperation, she decides to break the controller herself. She grabs the rock and uses it to smash the thermostat, and as Ian feared, it starts increasing the heat to its maximum capacity of 247 degrees Fahrenheit. Seeing this, after having warned them not to touch the thermostat, Ian becomes hysterical. Ian experiences an uncontrollable surge of madness, and Jenna becomes terrified of him. The heat is also slowly starting to reach its maximum level. Ian grabs the heater and tries to move it, burning his body in the process, but he doesn't stop. In a state of madness, Ian manages to move the heater, but the gas from it leaks and explodes on Ian's body. At this point, Jenna manages to escape the sauna. She goes outside, drinks water, and pours some on her body. She goes to her room and starts crying, but in reality, she's only hallucinating. She regains consciousness and finds herself back in the sauna, severely injured but still alive. She discovers that Ian has lost his life. Renee has also regained consciousness but is too weak to move. Jenna drags her body near the broken window and props her up to breathe. She manages to keep Renee's body upright by tying her with the towels, then faints from the extreme heat inside the sauna. Meanwhile, Michael, still unaware that his friends are trapped in the sauna, returns to the cabin, where a flashback shows him leaving the sauna earlier. It reveals how Michael, so intoxicated, accidentally knocked over a wooden step near the door, which ended up trapping his friends inside. In the end, Wade arrives at the cabin and spots Renee's head through the window. Paramedics arrive and take Jenna and Renee away on stretchers, holding hands, having survived. Wade gives his statement to the police, while Michael sits crying, realizing how his mistake cost his friend's life. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thanks for watching.